Hello and welcome back to Choir with Knut. A couple of weeks ago, I arranged the song I Think I'm in Love with My Best Friend by Becky CJ for 4-part choir with Becky singing the 5th part as the lead vocal. And I would quite like to do a few more of these, so this time I've asked another friend of mine, Connor Roff, if I could arrange one of his songs. The song we'll be arranging is called Soldier. And I already arranged this for a stream I did, so if you've seen that stream, you'll kind of have some vague idea of what's gonna be the result. But I'm gonna be illustrating what I've done with audio examples, and also there were a few changes that I did to that arrangement since I did the stream. So be sure to stick around anyway, so you can hear what the different sections ended up sounding like. So let's sit down and have a chat with Connor Roff about his song Soldier, and then arrange it for choir. All right, I am here with Connor Roff. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, you're in Vancouver at the moment.
That is true. I'm here in Vancouver. Been here since COVID began.
Thanks for letting me arrange your song. I'm very excited to start working with it. So the song is called Soldier. Could you tell me a little bit about the inspiration for the song?
So I wrote this song quite a while ago now, or it feels like that. It was kind of at a time when I was doing a lot of reflection, I suppose. And I wrote like a series of songs that had kind of LGBT plus themes to them. And this one in particular felt more personal and more vulnerable as it was coming from a place of like my own journey and story with my relationship to my sexuality and how I identified within that. I used the word soldier, I think, because it felt appropriate at the time in relation to being strong, using like strength. With that, all the ideas and the lines within the song kind of just naturally came up. I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. To be honest with you, it was one of those songs that just kind of naturally came up and out.
Tell me, what would you want from an a cappella arrangement of your song?
I think something that can highlight the lead vocal and like just kind of interact with the storytelling nature of the song so that it emphasizes certain lines and emotions within the song.
When I was listening to it, I kind of already had the sense there is a lot of space. Like there's a lot of long notes in the main vocal. There's a lot of space for call and response, for backing vocals to kind of step in. Step in and
call
come
and
back.
Response. That would be really cool. And I know that in the actual track, there's quite a lot of like little percussive elements to it, like very subtle. And I was wondering if it would work to kind of create that element or vibe with the choir somehow. I don't know how we would do that, but it might be cool to play with that idea. I think call and response and percussive elements would be really sweet. Staying away from like any classical like roots and keeping it more alternative and more like indie.
Thank you very much, Connor. I'm looking forward to arranging your song, and I'm sure it's going to turn out great. And as I said, I'll get it to you in about a week's time, and then we'll go from there.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to it. It's fun.
What you're seeing is a sped up footage of me transcribing the song. One of the first things you need to do when you want to arrange a song is to learn it, and I often do this by transcribing the song into notation software. You don't have to do it this way, you can also do it by ear, but I prefer to do it this way because it means that I already have stuff written into my software before I start the actual arranging process. So I've transcribed the song now and tried to kind of capture anything that I thought was important to put into an arrangement. This could all change when I start actually arranging it, but for now, all I focused on writing in was melody and harmony here in terms of chord symbols, and also this line from the guitar. And I'm not sure if I want to transform this onto voices. I might. It might be suitable. I'm going to have to see when I get started. But yeah, the thoughts I had while I was transcribing it was that the the song has a lot of long notes, and typically when you have a lot of long notes, that means you have space to do things between those long notes. So I think this song will lend itself very well to call and response, and I think judging from my conversation with Connor, call and response will work quite well for him as well. So you see it's got this is all pretty mid to low range for a tenor. It stays below the middle of the clef, and it's just going to continue, go slightly up, and it's interesting. In the chorus of this song, it actually kind of goes even like further down than it does up. Normally, you have choruses in pop songs go quite high in pitch, but this one goes quite low. So I'm going to see how to work on this with the arrangement. It might be tricky acoustically because there's always that risk of the low notes disappearing in the texture if you do too much. But they're of course all going to be recorded, so there is an element of microphones. But I always do recommend that people think about these things, like what happens if you've got this arrangement and they perform it and it's all a cappella, unamplified, which can happen. You know, sometimes you have power outages and you're just like, the show must go on, but it's fine because the arrangement will also work acoustically, and especially for this kind of genre, this kind of indie folk music genre, you will very often have almost acoustic performances of these songs. It's not unusual if you go to a festival, for instance, to have maybe people sitting in a tent having quite an intimate setting where they might not even be amplified, and then it's really quite good then to have an arrangement that will work in that kind of setting. So this is something I thought about, like, Sibelius isn't happy with with like going below B and A. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to work around this when I do the arrangement. I might cut out this post-chorus, I'm not quite sure. With a cappella music you can get away with shorter arrangements, and also with this song there is a lot of production happening. There's a lot of stuff happening that's been produced, and of course if you're doing a cappella voices, then you don't have the same production should we say effects available to you. You have other effects, but I might just cut away this and maybe shorten it a bit, and then go into the second verse. Second verse is shorter than the first. Now, up until this point, it's been fairly quiet. I kind of wanted to pick up a bit in dynamics as we go on here. There is kind of a quite steady build, I'd say, from about the second verse onwards. And it keeps kind of increasing a bit, not necessarily in dynamics, but in intensity. So I'm probably going to see if I can reflect that in the arrangement. Yeah, for the most part, there's loads of space still. Lots of long notes with stuff to do, and then it's really good to play around with call and response. Might be able to create some nice counter melodies to go between the lines. Again, this will be kind of the stuff that you will start to get inspired and make up stuff when you start working with it properly. I'd say that the real kind of loud part of the song, and I tend to kind of start with the loudest sections of songs when I arrange them, because that means I always know what I'm building towards. And it's the bridge. I have heard the whispers. Except, you know, this is when Connor's finally up in the high range. That's a natural point to have a loud dynamic. Yeah, this might be a nice point to put some choral style harmonies. Now, Connor did mention that he didn't want this to turn out too classical. Now, this is something I have to keep in mind, not to go crazy with loads of inversions and functional harmony. It does kind of still, you know, it does use traditional Western harmony, but I need to kind of resist that urge to make it very, very functional and have loads of dominants resolving to tonics and so on. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Third chorus is quiet, and this is also great where you can like build, and then boop, go down, and then you might do something like what I did in Becky CJ's song, where you suddenly maybe just have like two voices and open fifths or something like that. That works quite nicely for a cappella arrangements. Builds up towards the outro. Now this kind of has a steady growth right up until the end. And you have your highest note here. This should be quite like emphatic because you're right at the top of the range. And yeah, so I'm probably, when I start arranging this, I'll start with the loudest bits, work out what exactly am I working towards. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to change the key here, because I want to make sure that it's in a key that Connor wants to sing in. And you want to, when you work with an artist, maybe he would want to accompany himself on guitar, and have the backing vocals happening at the same time. Like, it's got kind of that potential of being a bit modular, where you can add in the guitar or take out the guitar. But of course, I'm going to have to arrange it for specifically a cappella voices. So the next thing is just get started. As I said, I'll probably start with the loudest bit first, and work my way backwards. And always keeping in mind, what am I building towards? And try and fit in some nice little elements between these rests and on the long notes. As I mentioned, I arranged this song during a live stream a couple of weeks ago, and if you're interested in really getting to grips with the way I arrange these songs, then you can check it out. Now, it is almost 4.5 hours long, so it might be a bit much to watch all of it, but if you'd really like to see how I work in the moment, you can check out at least part of this. I'll link to it on the screen so you can see. So my arrangement is finished, and I've kind of sent it a bit back and forth with Connor and done a couple of changes here and there according to his request. And I think this is pretty much what it's going to be. So let's have a look at what I've done. In the beginning, it is very simple. Now, when I was transcribing this, I had the guitar line written in. For those of you who watched my arranging stream, that was my original idea. But Connor didn't feel like that really worked for him, and so he asked me to change to just long notes, and so that's what I've done. I think I kind of have almost a bit of an aversion towards using long notes, even though I know that they're fine. Like, you sometimes feel like you need to fill in all the gaps all the time, but the thing is, you can kind of just do long notes, and a lot of the time it'll sound fine. But I think it's just the arranger in me really always wants to fill in the gaps. But in the end, that's not what I ended up doing here. I just started with alto and tenor, just open fifths, and then essentially just following the harmony in the alto part. This just happens twice. Then I add in everyone on the second phrase, and again, it's just a very simple thing. It's just an added ninth chord, very quietly in everyone's low range. And this just continues. There's like a part that harmonizes sometimes, but it's just chord and maybe a harmony here and there. Walk the ranks, same thing. And now eventually you'll see like stuff starts to pick up just a little bit with extra bits of harmonies, more stuff happening on each beat, just picking up a bit in pace. Chorus 1 starts just with the upper parts, and then everyone comes in on the word soldier. And then it's just block chords with a pedal bass. So a pedal bass is just keeping the bass on one note, throughout a series of chords. So here you have A major, and then you have, with an added ninth, with a B following B major following here, but the A stays in the bass. So this is quite a common way of building tension. Upper parts first, then the other parts come in on stubborn in this case. And a bit more motion here, a bit more like they're singing more on more beats in the bar. It's not just long notes anymore.
I was born a soldier, a soldier.
Going into verse 2, I cut down the interlude like I said I would, and I also introduced the line here. Now originally I had this running from the start, but Connor requested that I move this just to before verse 2, so that's what I've done. Again, a pedal bass, this time it's on the B, so there's like this tension building happening while there's an E chord at the top, just copying the guitar part, and just singing along in the bass part and eventually the soprano part. Again, there's nothing terribly, controversial happening here. Slightly higher soprano. Again, it's just nice to have that nice high soprano sound. And again, it's just a B, so it's not, something that's going to be hard for anyone to sing. That just kind of goes on until we get to chorus 2. Now it is block harmonies. Again, quite low range, but now suddenly everyone's singing together. I'm gradually approaching having people up in a high range. I've avoided it so far. So far it's been mostly just like low to mid range. Now it's going to get into the high range soon. Soldier, 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 soldier. This is a bit of a call and response that I talked about with Connor. And mostly just block chords. Again, it's fairly simple stuff. Sensible and stubborn, 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 stubborn. Same call and response idea here. Again, just beat, 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 beat. Just because we've had a lot more long notes, that kind of will drive the song a bit more. And it's not until we get to the bridge where it really starts to pick up.
'Cause I was born a soldier.
People are now going to be going up and up in range, and we're singing in block harmonies with the melody most of the time. Like here, it's on the 3 rather than the 2, but yeah, it's more or less. Keep going. We have some slides here to give it that nice little pop slide edge. Best to just ignore them. I threw in a little triplet. Again, just like building rhythmic interest and having them gradually go into a higher range. So I've got my tenors up on E here now, sopranos are up here, B, but we're going higher than this. March to my own sound. Now sopranos are up on E, so that's like a fairly high note, and you'll see that I've got them F. Already from the start I put them on F. But like it's not going to be until we get to March to my own sound when it's really going to start ringing out, and especially on this dissonant, dominant, it's not really a dominant, it doesn't have a dominant 7th, but it is the dominant chord. It is B, the 5th step, with the 4th and the 3rd at the very top. The very Eric Whittaker, if you will. But the 4th and the 3rd are right at the top of the chords, make it stick out and get that crunchy second effect.
I have heard the whispers come from all around. It's best to just ignore them, just ignore them.
and then boom, really quiet. And again, it's down in the low range, pianissimo. It is kind of a big jump for the tenors. They're jumping from F sharp all the way down to an E, an octave and a second, like a ninth jump down. That is something that will have to be rehearsed because it is a big jump. I will generally tell people to avoid doing these jumps, but I just couldn't resist here having them be super, super high and loud and then have them drop down. It's not so bad for the bass because they're just, they're on that low B and they just go to easy. And then introducing parts one by one. And again, this just helps building things. We're going into very, very bare bones, open fifth. Obviously, the melody's on the third, so it's not really an open fifth. Just tenor bass, and then altos come in after two bars, and then sopranos come in after a little bit. And again, here, I'm having them sing on every beat. We're just building tension, driving it forward. Sing sensible and stubborn, I am sensible and stubborn. And just using the words, but on every beat. Building rhythmic, maybe not necessarily rhythmic tension, but essentially just building more motion, if you will, rhythmic motion. Going gradually up in pitch. And so it's here. Going into the outro, you'll see that again. We have this triplet thing going up, and we have everyone in their high range, including basses on that high B. So that's going to be very emphatic.
Sensible and stubborn, I am sensible and stubborn, I am strong within, I'm strong within, I'm strong within the mind.
It's the outro, so this is the climax of the original. So I have mostly the altos and tenors being in harmony with the lead here. Bass is just doing a bass line on every beat, again, to keep up the rhythmic motion, and sopranos are just kind of, lying on the high note, high and ringing. Cross-style harmonies, high range, just keeping it high and loud and emphatic. Again, with this triplet figure, tenors all the way up on their G sharp, they're going to have to really bring it. If you've got belters, this is going to be awesome. Up, getting sopranos up on G sharp. Like, this is not going to be for your beginner choirs. I mean, I had some singers in mind while I was doing this, so I knew that, okay, G sharp is going to be fine. Same for the tenors. Having some rhythmic interplay here with the melody being on a minim or a half note, but the backing parts being, on a crotchet or quarter note and then minim. And so you get a little bit of rhythmic push and pull between the parts. That's kind of cool stuff you can do. And all just continuing with this motif right up until Already Been Confined, which is all in block harmonies. And again, moving on to a really dissonant chord just at the end. So if you can't tell quickly, you've got B major here with a ninth in the alto and the fourth added in the soprano, and then you've got the fourth also in the tenors, or in the lead rather. And this is going to sound very, very dissonant because you have a minor ninth interval between the tenor and the soprano here. And minor ninth intervals are very dissonant. It's probably the most dissonant interval you can do in equal temperament.
And I don't want to be a soldier, I don't want to be a soldier. Every single time, every single time, and suppressing what's already been confined.
This will sound very crunchy, but in the first draft, I didn't have as many crunchy chords. I kind of did that one at the end because I thought it would be cool to have a really, really dissonant chord at the end. And then Connor just said, I want more of those, more dissonant chords. So if you were paying attention, you would have seen that there were instances where there were minor second intervals between the alto and soprano. And this will be quite dissonant and will help avoid, well, It'll help avoid that old-fashioned classical sound to a certain extent. But that also comes down to, how it's sung. For writing like this, like sopranos all the way up on that G sharp, like that is, whatever you do, that is going to have a certain classical quality to it. But this is done a lot in folk music as well, to a certain extent in pop music, but definitely in folk music. And you just need to pick singers that will approach it in a sense that's not going to be too classical, if that's what you're going for. And that's, of course, what Connor requested. But yeah, that is basically the arrangement. That's it for today's episode of Choir with Knut. I hope you learned something. If you got any questions, then be sure to leave me a comment and share this video with your friends if you think they'll find it useful. We'll be releasing the full song in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, make sure that you check out Connor Roff on his social media, and be sure to subscribe to his channel if you haven't already, and to mine if you'd like to learn more about a cappella arranging. I will see you in the next episode of Choir with Knut.